Welcome to Everyday Conversations Regarding No. Welcome to Ordinary People's Extraordinary Stories. Getting my days mixed up and all sorts here. I have a guest. I have a wonderful guest. So what we're going to do, we're going to bring her in and then we're going to ask her about her life. So without too much further ado, Erika, welcome.
Good morning. Thank you.
No, let's get going. So, Erika, if you can tell me where you were born, not necessarily when you were born, because you was a lady. If you can describe to me what it was like, where you grew up, the schools you went to, and the education that you received. So, the floor is yours.
Thank you for having me on this morning. So going back, I grew up. I'm from the United States. I actually was born in Wellesley, Massachusetts, which is just outside of Boston, Massachusetts. And I grew up, started in the city. I began off going to school in private and parochial school, so Catholic school growing up. I always had uniforms. It was very structured, which I personally enjoyed. When I got older, like my siblings, I had the opportunity to choose to go to public school here in the States or to continue going to private school. And I continued on with private school, and I went to school in Worcester. And for those of you that are not familiar with Massachusetts in the States, it's like an hour and a half outside of Boston. So anyway, just teeing that up, that I just always liked structure. I didn't mind wearing uniforms, and it teed me up for, I thought perfectly, for I wanted to join the military and serve my country. Truthfully, I always looked at the Army or the Marines, but I had a really good friend who her grandfather we used to hang out with. He was in the U.S. Navy. And so when I finished all of my high school, I decided I was going to join the Navy with her. And her and I joined together in 2008. We left for boot camp in 2009. And I started an 8-year adventure of being in the U.S. Navy. So
there you have it. So we don't need to talk about much else because you flashed through it. Right, go on. That's not good enough. Let's drag you right back. Can you remember your kindergarten days?
Sure. So, I mean, going back to a kid, it's kindergarten was kindergarten. I remember running around playing. I grew up in a household that was a little bit hectic. My parents got divorced when I was in the 3rd grade, going into the 4th grade, and I don't know. I just always kind of had to be. I started to be independent at a young age and doing things for myself. So I always looked to the family. I'm the youngest of 3. So my oldest brother is a convicted felon. He's made a lot of bad life choices. My other brother is he was a United States Marine. So I just always observed what they did and kind of looked at life and how I wanted to live my life. Which all the more inspired me to realize that your life choices dictate how your life is going to go. And that just profoundly looking at both of them, I feel like I'm a fairly smart person, that I'm very analytical, which tied into later in my life and my career, that you can be faced with the same options and opportunities as everybody else around you, but really it comes down to the choices you personally make are going to impact your life. And it's not anything to say that one person's better than another, but that's just how my frame of mind started to get shaped between all of the things I observed and going through high school.
Well, you're rushing ahead again. so
I
so
apologize.
let's move on a little bit from kindergarten then. What about your elementary school? Is that the next one up? Elementary?
Yeah. Yeah,
So
kindergarten, I think here in the States is part of the elementary school. Yeah, it's normally for us kindergarten through sixth grade.
yeah. So what was that elementary like? What was your favourite subject?
Hmm. I always liked history. I feel like history and science. It's a strange
Ah,
place.
so let's have a look at history then. What period in history was your favourite?
Hmm. I'd probably have to go. I liked like the Roman time, the Roman era. I felt like it was
Ah,
fascinating with building and expanding empires and gladiators and whatnot. It just seems so foreign to me at the time.
yeah. I guess the time of the Romans was well before the Americans.
Yeah, we don't have coliseums here in the States, at least
No.
not ones from that time.
So, what other subjects did you do in elementary school?
I mean, the subjects we did, I remember we did things like English and writing, sciences. I always liked science. We did, well, I went, like I said briefly, to a Catholic school, so we had things like religion class. I remember we got to learn not only about our religion, but world religions, which I thought was interesting. And what other subjects did I take in elementary school? Let's see. I mean, starting at the beginning, I had to learn how to write and read. So I remember tracing letters
Yeah,
in class and, rhyming words, cat, hat, bat, all of the
yeah, all of that
basic
stuff, all
language
of that good stuff.
skills.
What about the arts? Did you do any music, dance, performance,
Um,
that sort of thing
not
that early on?
Not that early on. They didn't really have any opportunities for that. I do remember we had opportunities to volunteer, and we used to go to a nursing home. It was like a few times a year. So we would go do an art project with the local elderly people at the nursing home and visit them and spend some time with them. But the school I was at was too small. It didn't have any arts or music
Hmm.
programs, not until I reached high school.
What about sports at that time? Do you have any sports?
I did. I played basketball and t-ball. And it's actually funny. I quit t-ball because I kept getting bit by mosquitoes and it really annoyed me. So I did not pick it up again until I was in high school for a little bit and then
I mean,
stopped.
that's not something you normally associate with t-ball.
Well, I remember how I had to stand out in the field, and for whatever reason, I just kept getting attacked by mosquitoes, and I hated itching.
Ah,
So I was like, I'm not going back to playing this. Yep.
fair enough then. So, moving slightly on, what was your worst subject? What one did you not want to get out for in the morning to go to school?
Hmm. I would say it was probably, I don't know, I don't really put up with things. I would say as I got older, I feel like I don't think there's one subject. As I got older, as a kid, there really wasn't a subject that I didn't like to get up and get out of bed for school. I can say as I got older, I didn't like that I felt like I was being under challenged in school. So that would frustrate me, and I'd be like, I don't want to go do something I already know how to
Hmm,
do and spend the time doing it.
fair enough. So, I mean, at that time, did you have to get on the big yellow bus to go to school, or did you go on Shanks's pony? Did you have to walk?
No, got on the yellow bus to go to school.
It seems like most of America goes on a yellow bus in the morning.
Yep, yep, pretty much.
So, so what about your middle school then? Would that be your junior high?
Sure. So middle school, yes. For me, I'd say it was probably seventh and eighth grade. I went to a different school at the time, just because, like I said, the first school was kindergarten through sixth grade. The second school then was seventh and eighth grade, so right before high school. Um, that was a transition for me because everybody else at the school had been there for kindergarten through eighth grade. It just worked out how communities and cities were aligned that I had planned on going somewhere else, actually in Rhode Island, to pick up seventh through 12th grade. And it didn't work out with the timing and applying for school and my parents' divorce and whatnot. Things just didn't align properly, which is fine. We adapted. So I went to another school and that one, like I said, it was coming in and having to make new friends. I remember I came in over the Christmas break in seventh grade. And I guess I can back up a little. The beginning of seventh grade, I started off going to public school here in the States. And honestly, I hated it. It was like the worst thing ever. I complained every day about it because it was so there was no structure and it just completely was foreign to me coming from a private Catholic school where it was very structured. I never thought about talking back to a teacher. I never thought about just getting up in class and doing whatever I wanted. And all of these situations I was faced with and always just perplexed at how the students would do this and nobody would tell them no or put them in line in public school. And this was, again, oh my goodness, forever ago. And I was very, um, I was very bored. The curriculum
Mm.
was something that I had previously done. This is in the seventh grade, and they were going over material I had done in like the fifth grade. So I was bored. My teachers knew I was bored. So I complained every day, nonstop, harassing my parents, both of them. I was like, I don't know who needs to make a decision. I know the family's not together, but this I will not move forward in my life with. I was like, I'm going to
Mm.
become the rebellious one in school here. I don't know what I'm going to do, but this is not acceptable. I was like, this is
So,
so treacherous. So finally, I was a squeaky wheel enough that I went back to
mm.
private school. So like I
so,
said, I entered
let's
the
just have a quick look at that public school. Uh, were you in streams, or is they didn't have streams? They just lumped everybody in different classes, regardless of abilities and stuff like that. Um,
um,
and was it a sort of a rough sort of area where um, people really didn't want to learn? Was that the
no,
problem, or just
I
lack
just
of
think
discipline?
I just think there was a lack of discipline. There was no structure. Um, it seemed like I mean, this is my perspective, as a seventh grader, the teachers seemed like they just couldn't tell no to the kids for whatever reason. Um, I don't understand. I don't know from their angle at that age why, but again, me coming from where I came from in private school, I mean, a teacher would tell you, no, sit down, you're going to listen up, or I'm going to call your parents, you're going to go home. There's going to be consequences for you not, falling in line, doing what you're supposed to. This is learning time. We'll have a break later, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm.
Obviously, if you have to go to the bathroom, get up and go to the bathroom, but you're not going to stand up on your chair and scream randomly in the middle of class. And there were literally things like that happening. And it seemed like just the other kids in my class tested boundaries to see what they could get away with. And no one would check them and say, no, you can't do that. I remember
Mm.
once in a Spanish class, another kid taped a kid to a chair, literally completely taped him to the chair and no one did. I'm the new person in this school. I have no idea what's going on. I was like, what is in the world? The teacher could see what's going on and did nothing. And it was just very strange to me because I wanted to try to learn. But again, I'd already learned a lot of this. So I was
Mm.
bored and there was a disconnect for some reason. Just no
Yeah,
discipline, no. And it wasn't a rough area or anything like that. It was just, I
just
don't
kids
know.
had seen that they could get away with it and wanted to push boundaries.
Yeah, and no one pushing back. And honestly, I think it was kind of a disservice because I think people misinterpret things. You don't have to be mean when you push back and set boundaries.
Mm.
There's nothing wrong with setting boundaries. Like I said, I learned at a young age in my other school, it's like, okay, like, no, this is the time we're supposed to show
Yeah.
up and be quiet and learn. And, later on we can go outside and run around like hooligans and play for a bit and come
Yeah.
back. Um, yeah, it was just
So
very,
I
very,
suppose the cane had gone by then. I don't know whether they had the cane in America. Certainly had it when I was a young youngster, and I got a cane on more than one occasion.
yeah. Yeah, no, that was long gone. My father used to talk about that, getting the cane or even sometimes a
Mm.
purse or belt when he grew up in
Yeah.
school.
Blackball rubbers used to bounce off people's heads as well. That was another thing. So, so you were able to move back to a private school. So
Correct.
what was the difference?
It went back to order and discipline. So yeah, I mean that was good. I went back to being for like schooling more in a place where I was being challenged again, which was nice. I mean, I had a little bit of work to catch up on, which again, I don't know the reason for that. I know here in the States, I don't know if it's the same overseas. But normally, private school students, we are ahead for some reason in what we learn
Mm.
for the curriculum. I don't know the reason behind it, but at least then I was back on course and being challenged with, like, okay, good, we're back on par. Like, I'm not, relearning
Mm.
something from years prior, which
Did
bores
did you
me.
have much catching up to do?
I had a few months, but it wasn't anything that was
Mm.
unbearable to catch up on. So,
Mm.
really, the only catching up I would say was things like math and science, just getting back on par with where everybody else
Well,
was.
yeah. Okay, then let's have a look at your high school. Moving up slightly.
Sure. So then
Where
high
did you go for
school,
that?
sure. I went to Notre Dame Academy in Worcester, Massachusetts.
Ah, Notre Dame.
Yep.
Um, I don't suppose Esmeralda was there,
No,
and the Hunchback.
Quasimodo wasn't there either.
Bells, Esmeralda. No, not at Notre Dame.
Nope, nope.
That one's
Trust
in
me. I think
Paris, isn't it?
we would have found him, I'm sure. When we explored the school, he would have been found.
Absolutely. So Notre Dame, how was that?
Yep. It was good. So it was a little bit different. It was still a private school. We transitioned. It was a college preparatory school. So what that meant is we didn't have to wear uniforms anymore, and our school schedule was more in a block style to set us up for college. So instead of like 45-minute classes and having classes every day, we would have a 10-day class cycle. So you'd have classes every other day. Um, which was interesting, and I do think more productive instead of doing short classes every single day, which I feel like is not necessarily, it's not how the world and going to college work.
So what did you do on the days that you weren't at school? Did you have to study? Did you have home
So
study, that sort of thing?
we still went to school every day, but it would be like we'd have math on Monday, maybe history on Tuesday, we'd have math again on Wednesday instead of, I don't know, maybe I should have clarified that. Here in the U.S., normally the schedule previously for elementary, normally through high school at a lot of places, is you'll have like math every single morning, history after that every single morning. And it's just the same schedule every single day, Monday through Friday. So this freed it up that there'd be like math on Monday, math on Wednesday, math on Friday. And it would be a rotating schedule. It would rotate the times of the day. So on Monday, maybe math would be in the morning, Wednesday might be in the afternoon. And then we would have blocks of free time to study, again, trying to mirror what you would go through at a university when you would go to school, that you would have free time at different points of the
Yeah.
day to learn to manage your time and how you're going to study and get things done, and things like that. So when we were allowed to leave, so normally I remember, I think it was like 90 minutes would normally be how long a period was. So we could leave campus, we could go do whatever. We just had to be back in time for class.
So, did you pick up any of the arts in that, or did you pick up an instrument? Did you?
I did. So we had a lot of opportunities, and I tried pretty much every single opportunity. So we had things like chess club, we had a math club, we had Latin as a class, which I took. We also had a Latin club that I tried. We had for musical instruments, I learned to play the guitar, the bass guitar, the drums, and the piano. And I had a club every day of the week for music, which was nice. So I was in a jazz ensemble, instrumental ensembles, guitar, percussion, singing. So I tried all kinds of different things. It definitely was actually one of the reasons I chose to go to the school was that they had so many different extracurricular things for me to try and just kind of see and be exposed to what do I like, what do I not like, what's fun, what's not fun, and experience all of that.
And what about sports? Did you go back to t-ball?
No,
Go back to the
I
mosquitoes?
I know, right? No, I played softball, backtracking a little in middle school at that school I was at for seventh and eighth grade, the private one. And I played basketball there. But when I went to high school, um, I was like, it's time to turn over a new leaf. I like sports, but I didn't think anything that I was super passionate about that I wanted to pursue. And when it came down to sports, it was going to be a time confliction too of practicing every day. So I wasn't going to be able to try out any of these music opportunities. So I was like, let me try something different. I already know, I was like I said, and I still don't change my mind that I don't have a career in any of those sports. So
So how did you keep yourself fit?
yeah,
Did you have,
so
did you stop taking the bus and run to school and run home again, or did you just jump on the bus?
no, so in high school, the bus wasn't actually an option for school. So I carpooled with a friend and her father until I got my license when I was 16. And then I started driving myself to school.
Uh huh.
So, but in regards to your fit question, I used to run a lot. I took off probably a year from running around my junior year of high school. And I put on some weight. And then my senior year, I went back to just running. I don't know why, I just always like running and I still like running.
Were you a distance runner or short bursts?
Yep,
Distance.
normally distance. Yep.
So what about graduation then? Did you
Yep.
go to prom?
Yeah, yep. Did all those fun landmarks. Went to prom. We have I think it was called a semi-formal event too, which was a dance thing. It was a big thing that everybody got really excited about. So um did I don't know, all of those fun things and go up to graduation. I graduated in 2008 and
What was what was your date like?
not my type, we found out there. It was very interesting. My friends remember I was very blunt in he asked if we could keep talking and hang out afterwards, and I was like, I'm not really interested, no thank you. And all of my friends were floored that I was that blunt about it, and I still to this day just think I was being very honest, and there was no point in wasting time in lying and
Yeah.
pretending. So, which
No
a lot
point in
of people
stringing the poor bugger along.
exactly. I thought it was nice. Apparently, it was a little bit too straight to the point, but
Yeah.
I do that sometimes.
So go on then. You graduated. Did you
Yep.
graduate with honours?
Um, I don't
or did you
even
just
remember if
scrape
we
through?
had one. Yeah, I think we just graduated through. I don't even think we had it. It was a very small class of us. Again, for a lot of the private schools here, they're not as big as the public schools. We had, I think it was less than 100 people in the class who graduated just because it was a small class, comparatively to a lot of the public school where they have like hundreds, like 500 students that will graduate, which is a little
Mm.
bit crazy for me to imagine. Um, but yeah, no, just graduated, moved on at the time. I mean, I remember, I don't know, it's my life story. I mean, I graduated with crazy colored hair and stuff like that because why not in high school? I would dye my hair all kinds of crazy colors.
So, after graduation, what did you do? What was your first job?
So I mean, technically, my first job, I started in high school, like a lot of, I think a lot of us do here in the States. So I continued doing what I was doing. I worked at a Dunkin' Donuts, which is a coffee shop, kind of like Starbucks. And
Yeah, we
I
get Dunkin'
also,
Donuts over here now.
they don't have such a as much of a global reach as Starbucks always did when I traveled. So I never
Mm.
know sometimes if Dunkin's is where it is now in the world. But so I worked there and I worked at another place called Hot Topic, which is like a music retail kind of a punky type store. And so I continued working there while a friend and I enlisted in the U.S. Navy together. And we did that for just under a year because we both wanted to go to boot camp at the same time together. The U.S. Militaries have a program called the Buddy Program. So if you sign up with someone and you want to go to boot camp at the same time, they can align your contract so you can go to boot camp at the same time. Um, as a result, because of we both were going to be in different job fields, it was just going to take longer for us to wait until we could actually go to boot camp at the same time. Which, a funny look forward, we realized that wasn't the best idea because we forgot, which I'm sure with your audience knowing the military, we forgot we're going to have to shower together at boot camp because that's what happens. We're like, why did we decide to go to boot camp together? Like, this was a very strange decision on our part to try to be moral support for each other, but
Mm.
it was just funny. We didn't think about that until literally we were on the bus there. I was like, yeah, we should have just gone at separate times and high five from afar, but you live and you learn.
So, boot camp then, where was it?
Great Lakes, Illinois,
Oh,
so
so you had to move a
north
little
of
bit then.
Chicago.
Mm. And what time of year?
I went there in the fall heading into the winter time, so September through November.
Hmm. So, when did you pass out?
When did I pass out?
Yeah,
I don't know
that's
what that means.
pass out. When did you graduate training or
Wait,
finish training?
graduate?
That's
Um,
we have a passing out parade. So it's a
okay.
big parade where everybody marches around once they've completed their initial training.
Got it. Yep, I did not pass out. Some people did at graduation from locking their knees and they fall down standing at parade rest. So I don't know if that's what you mean. Um, so I graduated, actually, I backtrack. I graduated on Friday the 13th, I remember, because it was like whole
Not a
big
good
thing.
day then.
I know.
Did that set your career in motion? Friday the 13th.
I mean, I think I did had a good career, but I don't know about everybody else, but
So after you graduated basic, what did you move on to? What was your trade? Did you go on for trade training?
Mine was being an analyst. So I moved on from there to Virginia Beach, Virginia for training.
And is that like intelligence analyst?
Yep.
So if you'd have gone in the army, it would have been in the intelligence corps. So it's naval intelligence.
Yep.
Aha. So from now on, you can't tell me anything.
That's it.
You have to
Interview's
keep it
over.
all secret.
Thank you for your. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, thank you for your service. So, how long was your trade training, and what was that like?
Um, so the training lasted, um, I went from about November until August the following year. But the only reason was because there were so many people at the time going through training. The actual training itself was a few months long. You do training for a few months on the basic skill set, and then I had a break for a few months, and then I did another few month long training on another specialty. So my first specialty was being a strike analyst. So I learned how to plot bombs for aircraft to drop them on whatever need to be dropped on.
Yep, fair enough. And what was your second speciality?
Later on, I came back to school again and I learned how to do ground analysis. So it was more of a tactical level of like the battlefield, assessing the battlefield, and planning from that stage. Vice for the bombs, it was more of like a strategic operational
Mm,
level. Um, this was more tactical, but that was a few years later. I came back.
mm. So, once you completed your training, what was your first draft?
So my first place, ironically, I always thought and joked about was in Fallon, Nevada, which is a landlocked state, which I was confused why I went there because, well, it's in the Navy. I thought we needed water.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Ships normally
So,
need a drop of the agua to bounce along on.
yeah. So it turns out we have a large naval base there for our aircraft to train. And actually, that's where Top Gun is. So I was very blessed. I got the
Oh, the old
opportunity to work with Top
Miramar.
Gun. Yeah.
Did you see him there? Did you see the little short guy? What's his name? Tom Cruise,
No, I did not.
an Iceman.
No, no, they were not there when I was there.
Oh, you missed out then.
We did. Next time.
Of course, you know when you're in a bar with a pilot, don't you?
Hmm.
They'll tell you.
Oh, for sure. There's no,
Oh no.
yep. Everyone has to know.
So you're on your first draft in Virginia, or in a Massachusetts, yeah,
Nevada.
Nevada, yeah, in the
Yep.
middle of the country where there's no water. So you're at an airbase basically. So
Yep.
you're doing obviously this bomb dropping malarkey and
Yep.
the list and that there. So how long did that last for?
I did that for a few years. Before then, I went back to Virginia to go back to school where I learned the more tactical level analysis, ground analysis. And then I stayed in Virginia that time well, my base was in Virginia at that time, but then I forward deployed over to Europe to Sixth Fleet and worked throughout Europe and Africa for the last few years leading up until the end of my enlistment.
Uh-huh. So, did you do any operational deployments like Afghanistan or Iraq?
So I did go to Afghanistan, but it was after I was out of the military as a contractor.
Oh, right. So, different sort of ball game altogether. You don't
Yeah,
get the medals for that.
no, got different pay for that, but I did not get any medals for
Well,
that.
yeah. So, you get posted to Sixth Fleet in Europe.
Yep.
Where was your base to start with? Was you based on ship or?
So my base was technically out of Virginia on land, and then they just would forward deploy us to
All right.
wherever they need us. So for me, it was Sixth Fleet in Europe. So I
Mm.
spent some time on some of our ships across Europe, and I would go to visit them, but I didn't spend very much time with them. I didn't have a ship as a home base.
All right. So you didn't get a sea draft then. as such.
No.
So how was Naples?
Naples was good. Naples is I think an interesting city. I liked it. The Italians I thought were fun. They're very colorful, I will say. They're very passionate about things and coffee and when not to drink coffee. I drink a lot of coffee over there and cappuccinos.
Yeah.
They're, you're not supposed to drink it after you eat. They would get upset at me for doing that. Things like that.
Yeah, they're weird like that. I mean, we normally have a coffee after dinner. They like
Right.
have an espresso like that much coffee for breakfast.
Exactly.
You
So
don't even get to taste it.
So yeah, no coffee on the go. Coffee on the go is a very strange thing.
Mm.
They would also be a little offended at that instead of hanging around. But no, all jokes aside, it was a beautiful place, and I definitely like love the opportunity to be able to explore from there and go out and see different parts of Europe and different parts of Italy. So it was
Mm.
definitely something I've always wanted to do.
So did you get much chance to travel to other places and work in other places while you were
Yeah.
over in?
Yeah. Yeah, so one of my jobs, I got to work and train a lot of the countries across Europe. So I've probably been to, I know I've been to 24, I think, foreign countries across Europe and Africa. So I got to work with most of the militaries, most of our counterparts. I mean, like I
Mm.
said, I've worked with the British, um, I've worked with Greece, Spain, everywhere. I got to go a lot of places too for exercises, for naval exercises, and be the support and overlooking and helping plan, if like I got to help with like neos or if like an Article 5 was invoked, I got to help plan for
Yeah.
that. How logistically would we need to do things like that? I got to go to Poland for that. I got to go to the Ukraine, which was, a really, really cool experience considering now what's going on in the world to have been there.
Yeah.
Before all of this that happened, got to go to Odessa and I mean, I'm sure you're familiar. We have exercises all the time,
Yeah.
all over the world. So I was
Did
very blessed to be a part of a lot of them
did you
and see
come
a
to
lot
the
of
UK and do JMC, the
I
Joint
did
Maritime
not.
Course?
I did not get to go there and do that. I have a lot of friends that have done that, but I did not get
Mm.
to go and do that. So um,
The one
didn't
time
line
I
up.
went up to support the exercise, we were up there. Or we're going to be up there for 2 weeks. The first week we were operating out of the maritime ops room in
Okay.
Faslane, and the second week we were going to go out on HMS Illustrious, which is at the time one of our aircraft carriers.
Yep.
But we got recalled on the Friday afternoon to come back down to our base, and we got stood up to go to Macedonia. And while I was in Macedonia, 9/11 happened. So I didn't get to go out on the aircraft carrier for the second week. Instead, I went to Macedonia.
You know, well,
5 months
everything happens
later,
for a
I'm
reason.
flying into Kabul, thinking,
Yep.
"Oh, what happened here?"
Yep. Crazy how things take a turn.
Yeah. So were you? Where were you for 9/11?
I was in school. I was in the sixth grade. I remember because we watched it on TV. I brought a TV in for us to watch it. Um, I have no idea if I was in public school at the time what they would have done. And again, going back a year later to the craziness of all of those that. But yeah, we
Mm.
came in, we watched it, and talked about it. And I don't remember if we went home early that day or not, but I remember when I came home, obviously it was still on TV at home and just everyone being in shock
Yeah.
of like what's going on. And my brother, who joined the Marines at the time, or not at the time, he joined when he graduated a few years later, just, already like, let's go. Like, I'm going to go sign up now and,
Yeah.
go kick some butt. And like we talked about briefly before, I think a lot of people look for those things sometimes to pull together to be like, yeah, let's go make a
Yeah.
difference and join a cause and fight for something. I remember that being a really strong pull for him and for me too, in a slightly different sense, that I was kind of like, yeah, let's do it. But again, I'm not a door kicker. That was not my job. So I feel like I have a slightly different skill set of let's definitely go do it, but I'm
Yeah.
going to do it in my way and the skill sets that I have. So
Mm. So let's bring us along then. When did you leave the U.S. Navy?
I left in 2016.
No, not long ago then.
Yep.
So what did you do once you left? I mean, that's it. You've left the military. What did you do next?
Right, exactly. So when I left, like I said, I got out, I got a contracting job here first in Massachusetts for a little bit. Um, and it was kind of not exactly what I was looking for. So I applied for another contracting job, which landed me at working for SOCOM, so with the Special Forces again, and I'd worked with them a bit while I was on active duty. So I was familiar with how they operated, and that's how I ended up in Afghanistan for a while and going over there to do some things and help out and support. And then, so I did that for a few years.
Whereabouts in Afghan were you?
Sure. I was in Kabul for a bit. Uh, JBAD, I was there, and I think that was it. I would pop in and out of cities occasionally, but that was primarily the two places.
Mm.
So I remember Kabul. Kabul, it was funny. I had a British counterpart there that I would always hang out with, and we would always have conversations about firearms in the UK, vice in the military, walking around with them, and just, me being a contractor, I wasn't allowed to have a firearm while I was overseas, which was strange to me, and it was just
Mm.
fun conversations with a lot of because I was on the joint base, so everybody it was just interesting
Yeah.
again in that environment with everybody since I'd been out of the military for a little bit.
Mm. So bring us along a little bit further then.
Sure. So yeah, so I decided I took kind of a hard look at my life. One of the reasons I got out of the military was because I've always wanted to be a doctor and help people. So that was kind of why I transitioned out. But honestly, I got kind of afraid and just went back to doing what I'd always done. And I feel like so many people. So I decided I was going to go back to school, and things just kind of lined up, how life lines up, right? So I left my contracting job. I moved back north here to Boston, and I started school. And then my father got sick. So my father had me later in life, so he was older. And I decided I was going to help take care of him because he really needed someone to take care of him. And everything lined up that when I did this, then it was right before COVID hit. Then COVID hit, so I was taking care of him throughout the pandemic up until he passed away last year. So it's been, or no, excuse me, he passed away in 2022. So it's been just over a year.
Mm.
Um, Later on this year will be the end of the year will be 2 years, and so yeah, so that took up all of my time at that point. I couldn't go to school and take care of him. He had Alzheimer's and stage 4 cancer. So it required all of my time and thought process in regards to the pandemic and everything else. And so then after he passed, then I started right before he passed. I started my entrepreneurship journey and continuing my journey to get on course to go back to school and become a doctor. So that's kind of like fast version sped up to where I am now. And yeah, just continuing to move forward, always finding solutions to any problem or challenge that I face. And I think it's the best way to do it.
So are you in school now to be a doctor? Are you learning to be a doctor?
So I'm applying to medical school this year. So I'm not in school for that. I'm finishing I know everywhere is a little bit different, but we have a pre-med prerequisite. So just science classes that I need to take to finish being eligible to get into medical school.
Mhm.
So that's what I'm
And,
working on now.
and what area of medicine do you ultimately want to go into?
I'm going to go into neurology, so
Oh,
the brain.
yeah, it's a complicated old muscle, that, isn't it?
Very complicated. Very interesting.
Mm. Many aspects of the brain that, well, they dictate everything that we do. So
Yeah,
I wish you all the very best for that.
I appreciate it.
Well, Erica, I think you've had some sort of fascinating little story going on there.
Yep. Still a lot more to go, but so far it's been an interesting journey.
Oh, yes. It always will be.
Yep.
Just remember that you can't change history, but you can make it and
Hmm.
you can live through it.
Yep. I love that.
And
Yep.
you're certainly making some history there.
Appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you. I loved our conversation and yeah, still more to go. So
You're most welcome. Wow, what a fascinating life. Going from private school to being in the military, in the Navy, and now looking at being a neurologist. I wish her all the very best. So until the next one, TTFN. Ta-ta for now.